Welcome to the Dance Centre podcast. I am your host, Claire French, and I'm joining you from the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, also known as Vancouver, Canada. I'll be talking to dancers, choreographers and other members of the dance world here on the West Coast to find out more about their creative work and practices and to discuss what it means to us to be dance professionals today. Thanks for joining us. Alvin Tolentino is an active Asian Canadian dance artist who continues to reveal, provoke, fascinate and bring a fresh voice to the national and international dance scene. His successful career has garnered him notability and a distinct reputation as an original and unpredictable contemporary performing artist. A sought-after dance interpreter, Tolentino has continued to receive critical praise as a dancer for his outstanding interpretations of his own works, along with some of Canada's finest choreographers and dance companies, including EDAM, Karen Jameson Dance, Kinesis Dance, Kokoro Dance, Lola Dance, and Maskell Dance, to name a few. In 2000, Tolentino founded Co.ERASGA, a dance company dedicated to the research, creation and presentation of contemporary dance with an emphasis on exploration and collaboration with diverse artists nationally and abroad. With extensive international tours and artistic collaborations, Tolentino has featured dance works across the world with showcases in venues in Canada, the Philippines, Japan, Belgium, USA, France, Dominican Republic, Croatia, Switzerland, Singapore, Venezuela, UK, Thailand, Laos, China, Uruguay, and Germany. Hi, Alvin.
Hi, Claire.
Erasga Tolentino. It's so lovely to talk to you again.
Likewise.
Thank you. We are going to focus this podcast conversation on your company, the up-and-coming premiere production you have of Eternal Gestures, and your 25th anniversary of the company. We have had a wonderful conversation in the past on this podcast about you, your history and training and all of those things, and I think these two will complement each other really nicely. But we are in the present moment with you. We are very excitingly in your 25th anniversary of the company and this wonderful new creation. So I would love maybe to let's start with the work that you've just come out of a residency in the Faris with, Eternal Gestures, and your wonderful collaboration with Indigenous choreographers and artists. And would you like to sum it up for our listeners? If you can?
Absolutely. This is a new creation that really will be part of the 25th season of Co.ERASGA. It's kind of the highlight of the year, and it's in partnership and co-production with the Dance Centre, who's been a tremendous support also of Co.ERASGA over that time period of 25 years. I believe that we produce a total of about 4 or 5 creation over that time. And so this is one of them. And this work will be the creation of 3 Indigenous Coast Salish contemporary Indigenous choreographer, Star Moranko, Michelle Olsen of Raven Spirit Dance, and Margaret Grenier of Dancers of Damli Hamid. And I've had a really wonderful long-time relationship with these beautiful women choreographers, and I wanted to dream what I might do for the 25th season. And so I thought a lot about it, and I think that this work is visionary in a sense that it seems to be right in my core. It was a natural thing to do, and I think I wanted to also I thought for the 25th season, really honor the power of women and their sense of care and motherhood. There's so much women in my life that have been so significant and so nurturing in the development of me as a human being, but also as a creator and as a creative person. And so I thought, I just want to cradle that love of women and matriarch grandmothers, mothers, sisters. And that's really what I wanted to offer to the community, this notion of care in dance. And also I think about the work that I am really involved and been really interested in the last 10 years is this notion of our place here on earth and what's happening to Earth, Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And so that link of that relationship, I thought that need to express that has to come from the power of women, these mothers. And I thought that would be the way that I would like to express the season, the anniversary milestone of Company ERASGA is through their visionary work, and for me to continue my love for dancing at 55.
Yay!
To
celebration.
To reverse the role as the interpreter of their vision for the community. Because
I love this.
That's really how I began. It's really, that's why I made the company 25 years ago, is because I wanted to dance, and I thought this is so timely. I just want to be able to continue to express the capacity of dancing for this age, and to express the work and the vision of these three Indigenous women.
So I love how you've summed it up there, and also on the website and with your description of eternal gestures. You've alluded to it here. I love this idea of the information being passed on or being felt and understood in the body, from the body, in the body. And when you say this is also an opportunity for you to not talk about, but actually be involved in the relationship between dancer and choreographer, the way you've just brought that to us is to kind of say you've done both roles, you are in both roles quite often, but this one is very much about you understanding it as a dancer. Mm-hmm. And so you have other choreographers as opposed to you choreographing it and dancing it. Could you expand a little bit on that relationship, the dancer-choreographer relationship, particularly with these Indigenous female choreographers? Mm-hmm. Both in a general level for you to be a dancer with a choreographer now, and then on another deeper level of what each of those choreographers maybe has offered you as a dancer, or maybe just however you would like to interpret that maybe.
Well, I think from the research that we began since the spring of 2024 up to now, and to the lead up to the world premiere in October, I think one of the most important things is really this: how do you sustain this relationship in the creation with the choreographer and the dancer? Mm-hmm. And for me, it's so much more than the physical virtuosity of the body, but it's really the intelligence of the body, because in that a lot is the psychological presence, the emotional, and the caring, to continue that caring, and really tuning, understanding each of the choreographers. So for me right now, I'm honing each work as a solo interpreter, because it will be a full-length work. It's 3 solo works, but each choreographer works slightly different. But there's a sense of intelligence and a lot of humility that is being given to me, and it's how to access that, and how to keep that alive in my dancing body, as opposed to just being a dancer and being virtuosic, alive for the physicality. I think in these 3 works, there's really a lot of question about who I am, what I am in this work. Our big question really is that land. What am I in this land? Who am I in this land? What is my purpose in this land? What is the land giving to me as a visitor, as an artist, and really thinking about why we're here, And so there's so much more than the dancing. There's really the deep relational, the history also of each artist and who they are as Indigenous artists for this contemporary time. And so keeping that alive, that intelligence alive, so that I can just, as in the time of the performance, continue that search for the intelligence of the body, which is beyond dancing, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's the big difference for me right now, dancing at 55 versus at 30 or 25 years ago.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I feel like when I dance now, the discoveries I'm making are both personal and like this kind of almost like a connection to a wisdom that I feel like has been not available to me until my 50s somehow. There's something,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel that it's like there are other places in my body that are helping me dance now.
Absolutely. There's so much layer of information that's been part of your body over this time. And so when the choreographers are expressing their ideas, I have to peel off all of these information and layers in my cellular body and to interpret that in the notion and expression of movements, which are really profound. And in some ways, each of them are kind of taking me back from the very beginning, which is really my love for dance, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, Margaret Grenier has expressed that dance from your heart. You know, the idea of dancing from your heart. I mean, that alone and the simplicity of that and the joy and the love of that. And to know that even though I'm performing solo work, I am not performing solo work. I am a community. I am a body of so many people, the people that are watching, the people that are before me and are the next generation. I'm part of that. And so it's not a solo work, you know, and then there is also the weight and the immense, profound place of this land and how to emanate that into my body.
So I'd like to just stay with that a moment because I am fascinated by, and I am assuming that there's a weight in your rehearsals, in your creation period that comes from this kind of responsibility, this kind of developing an understanding of Indigenous cultures and First Nations cultures and the Coast Salish peoples particularly. There's a responsibility that you are kind of not running from, you are kind of a part of, and you have your own culture and your own indigeneity that you are also expressing here. You know, so on one level, my assumption is that sometimes the rehearsals may feel really quite heavy.
Overwhelming. Yeah.
And overwhelming, and almost like stuck. Like a stuckness, like how or which direction might you go, like or a kind of not exactly a freeze moment, but what do you do with all of this information? But then I'm also assuming that the conversations that you have with these choreographers in their different ways allow for you to find not only a freedom in there, but a direction. Do you have any, like, is there anything you can kind of give us as an insight into how those kinds of conversations might have developed, or where you found yourself with the choreographers feeling not necessarily overwhelmed, but suddenly realizing the weight of something and finding a way out? Like,
yeah, I think firstly it's because we all recognize that we're all visitors on this land, and I think each of the choreographers are expressing that and the fact that we've done so much decolonizing and now it's the decolonizing of the body in the work that we do, in the creativity we do, with the intelligence that we need to carry on a daily basis so that we can really understand those nuances. And so those conversations are huge, and they come into rehearsal. And I have to listen to each of the choreographers, and I have to encounter and really feel the responsibility and the weight of that. But in those research, in those process, in those taking the information from each one and taking them into my body, into the moving, I need to construct them in a way that is also very healing for myself. And so even though we see the reality of where we're at this time, and it's a very timely work, but also for the time and the kind of obstacles that we're in, including climate change, including facing the truth and reconciliation and what that is for each of us, and how do we navigate with that, and what are the responsibility that we have for that. What is my responsibility as an immigrant who comes here in the Coast Salish, and to be an artist and to be a citizen? What are my responsibility? What am I doing with that, you know? And a great part of that is really, one of them is that being an artist and building and lasting this relationship that I've had with these three choreographers. and to not be stuck and to not be afraid of it, but to really encounter it, to take the work, the load of work in the studio, and to allow it to not just so much to prepare for a production, but to be in conversation with them.
Yeah.
And that conversation is one layer of the healing for me to understand more, because I know so little. And the education that I'm being taught by each of the choreographers is very profound, and I really feel like I'm going to basic,
Yes.
And to be reminded of the basic thing, the humanity that we need to carry as a person, more than just being an artist, but just a person. There's a lot of that reminder in the conversation that is really profound to me. And I just feel so honored to be able to be in the space with them and to have that encounter of the conversation and to not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
To just face it on. The other layering, the dancing and the choreography, the production is just another pathways, But that moment that I have with Star, with Michelle, with Margaret in the studios, those process is just so integral for me. It's such an education for me to just understand who they are as people also. So that's been really significant to me. And it's so healing, it's so healing. And I encourage the community to just understand who is Star Moranco, who is Michelle Olson, who is Margaret Grenier,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, do you know what I mean? It's huge. It's really huge for me. So.
Yeah, and I love also your description of understanding it through embodying, almost like embodying the conversations. I feel like this is one thing you're saying here is that, and so what an audience can engage with is you having embodied these conversations. And so the term vessel that is used a lot in dance. We don't necessarily use it in, all the time, but it's used a lot in dance to maybe even try to help describe how a dancer might take on a choreographer's or take on a vision from somebody else. But I think here the vessel is the almost like a kind of a funnel or a kind of, like you say, a pathway for the conversation to then be received through the body by an audience. And then the audience is engaged in the conversation on all visceral levels, as far as they're willing to engage with it, which I think is really beautiful. I'd also like to say, I think there's a connection very much to some of your previous work in terms of your environmental interest and a sense of body meets land, body meets other body.
Yeah.
And body being in materials, that materials themselves are also have bodies and they are also, kind of sensory. And I think there's something really beautiful about the relationship there between these artists and you coming together for this project. So it's all very exciting. And I kind of congratulations to all of you on this. I wonder if we could talk a little bit about moving to the 25th anniversary, as this is part of that celebration. But maybe you could talk a little bit about that. And again, there are so many milestones for your company. You have created over, I think, 30 productions in the 25 years. That's a lot of productions. Some of them have toured. There's many, many things. You run many, many programs. So I'm wondering whether we could first start by even though we talk about this in the previous podcast we had together about you going from an independent dancer to a company, today, could we talk a little bit about your motivation to found a company? I think you slightly addressed it. And then kind of why you did that and maybe how this sense of purpose that you had back then has sustained your practice and sustained you in keeping this company in survival mode and so vibrant, so alive for so long. So really the beginnings of the company, what was your motivation and how has that sustained your company and your work through that time?
Yeah, I think I really founded Co.ERASGA because I think it's really my desire and my need to focus more on my work and to have the opportunity to maybe create this real solid foundation where I can just be the creator and to allow my creativity to flourish. Although nobody ever taught me how to find, or how to, there's never like, a formula on how to become a nonprofit. Nobody ever taught me that, and so, and I never planned that it would last this long. It was really just that impetus that I would like to have a company so that it could really focus on the work and the drive that I have as a creator and to see where that goes. Mm-hmm. And so 25 years, here we come,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so profoundly grateful to have come this far. And I was just talking to my writer about this, that we never really planned to come this long. It was really for us about being in the rigor of the work, the behind the scene, because running a company is huge. It really is huge. The behind the scene and the work that goes on is so much more. And so it's a journey for me. It's been a journey for me on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis, and to face all the obstacles of whether I will have the support and the economic fundings in order to sustain the programming. Having to meet and deal with the incredible diverse artists that I have encountered over the years, So it's really it was really about this journey, this incredible journey that is so enriching. I mean, a lot of challenges, of course, And I've had nights also where I'm like, I'm done with this.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm done with this, I've had my big frustration, but I've also had a lot of my rewards. I've had a lot of my incredible greatness, and also the work that I've created, I think, have really resonated so much, not just here at home, but globally. I mean, I am still performing to international stages with the work that we have. And there's been a lot of young artists and young generational creators that I've also sort of touched with, and that my work and the wisdom that's been in the work has also hopefully influenced that. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of rigor in running this company over time. Yeah. And you and I know, what it's like to live in British Columbia and how we are with our arts economic situation. It goes up and down, including this time that we're in. It's a really critical time that we're in for the arts. And so I faced those, and I faced many of those over time. Mm-hmm. Yet the persistence and the courage and the resilience to just stay in the journey, to not think so big, but at the same time, to respond to the capability of the company and the kind of programming that we can create, so that we respond also to the time that we're in. We respond to the needs of where dance needs to go and where the needs of the company needs to go for the time that we're in. I'm very sensitive, I think, as an artistic director, with that notion of where are we moving in the art practice of dance at this time? Because I think that is something that is really essential over those years that I have been with the company, and to face head on, and one example of that is during COVID. We didn't stop, but we molded our ways to figure out what on earth is this digital platform that we all need to figure out. You and I know what that was like, right?
We know. Well, you and I did.
Nobody
do you remember?
That's right.
We did. Yeah, we were co-hosts on the.
It's like, all of a sudden here we are being televised, broadcast to the international world. And we've never had the training for that kind of work, right? We've never had that extensive digital training to be in a platform so that we can engage our practice, our dance, our life to the world,
Yeah,
so
live streamed. Here we go.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of navigation that I never know what will come out. But somehow you just have to be guarded and you need to face it head on and see what happened.
And I think you've built both avenues and connections, international connections for your work, and built a local foundation for the community to access. And I think they've fed each other, I think, for the company, obviously also for the community, and given many people in the community options for having international exchange through your company, directly through your company.
Yeah.
You've also brought amazing people to Vancouver for the local community to kind of engage with, and further relationships with them if they felt like it of their own accord. So I think there's one of the things where, the programming that you've initiated, while I love that where the company needs to go, as a, kind of as a mantra maybe for the companies, as you say, resilience and sustainment, but also sustenance, nourishing the company. Yeah. But you've initiated so much great programming. Was that organic? Like, did you just find yourself like almost believing that same thing of like, what does the company need? What do I need? What do you think the community needs? Who do you want to work with? Is that how it came about? Or is there something less clear, less direct in how these relationships formed?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it's the need, but also I just really feel, and I think I expressed this in our last podcast, that I really get to educate myself when I get to encounter individuals that are outside our community. Yeah. That's how I really learn about the extensive possibility of what else is in dance and what else is dance. Hiroki Imeda from Japan, Pishat Kunchun from Thailand, Peter Chin from Toronto, Rafaela Givanola from Germany, Martin Intamusu from Uruguay, but they all bring in an extensive specialty that is really part of their culture. And if we're really looking and thinking about global citizen, we kind of have to really open the doors for one another. This idea of being a citizen of the world, I think, has to be carried in the aspect of the arts making and being an artist citizen, And so we had to open the door for that. And I felt that I needed to open the door for that. I needed to carry, because I'm in Vancouver, I needed to carry that within me as a community and to allow that door to open, and for them to also understand what is Vancouver, who is Vancouver, right? Because it's so dramatic once you get to know someone and where they come from and the kind of work that they deal with in their own culture, their own politics, their ways of arts making, which is very different from ours and very similar to the 3 choreographers that I'm working with right now, because they carry their own basket of magic that is being expressed. And as you and as I am, right? I think that's what it is, right? And so I just knew that there was a potential for that, And if we're looking at globalization, I think it's the personal encounter that really needs to happen. Yes. We need to be really engaged on a physical, emotional, intellectual level. And that's why I want them to come here, to be here, to really engage with them and the possibility of that. Because it's one thing to see it on social media or to see it on YouTube, but it's a different thing when an international artist is here with us, speaking from their heart and really engaging with the community. I know that's a very different platform. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, me having a collaboration with them, me also coming to their own community and countries and seeing the reality of the realities of what they have. Yeah, there's something where the work is located, where it grows, how it evolves. And then there is what you're saying, it's community engagement. So there's one thing to see the work of these people, but to actually be able to engage with them and, like you said, get behind the scenes of a work, be in process with people, being able to have direct conversation with these people in their presence is invaluable. I totally agree. And you've done that consistently. You've managed to do that. What Lab also, as an experimental platform, I think serves so many
people and offers people a lot of hope, I think. Like those kinds of programs offer hope.
Yeah, I love the studio salon series because we've had different iteration of that since the very beginning. And then we started to bring it out again prior to the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, it was really needed. It was so one of the anchors so that we could support a lot of our independent dance artists. And I think what I really love about the salon is it's not creation, production driven, but it's really process. What is the artist thinking at the moment? And what is that thinking that can be revealed, a pocket of it, in the sharing, so that they can have a trial, and then the public can also just have a conversation about it, and there's so many pieces of work from these artists that are now move on into big stages works, so I'm really happy with that. It's really just, process to me is such a big thing. I think there's so much in that space of us as creators, as dancers, as choreographers, where it's a profound time, and I don't want to forget that it's part of this thing hemming and just understanding, where am I going with this question? Like put out the question, and then you can just stand in the studio and not think about, I have a production 2 months from now, but just stand there and think, So I've told a lot of the participants in the salon, just be here. Just be in the studio and sleep. Maybe you just need to do that. Sleep with your question, How often do we have the capacity to do that, and to not push yourself that I have to make 1 minute choreography today, not even go there, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I spent so long doing just that you said, like every time I went into the studio to choreograph, then I had to come out with a certain amount of choreography for the longest time, because I told myself that was what I was in there to do. Now I'm in there to practice.
That's
and
right,
so choreography takes it's less of a priority in the objective, but it's part of the practice.
Absolutely.
So
Just a moment to check in with yourself. And to be vulnerable with your own creativity. I think that's the part that is so much needed right now for all of us,
Yeah. It leads to deeper questions, I think. It leads to deeper questions and deeper connection, as you're saying, I feel as a citizen, but also as a member of a community, which I think fluctuates. Which community am I part of? What is the milieu? What is, what? I think that's fine. And I feel much more liberated inside that now than I did before.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how much touring you're doing. I believe you're going off to the Philippines tomorrow.
I know. Yes.
Yeah. But touring as in touring productions, and then there's also traveling, right? And as your artist travels. Could we talk a little bit about that? Like over the years, I'm sure this goes beyond 25 years. Your career, is much longer than that. But how does touring feature now? How does travel?
Well, I think one really needs to question and ask why you want to tour, I feel. Yeah. Because there's a lot of rigor in touring that is involved. And to me, I think the most important thing about touring is really the expansion of the deepening into the work, where it can be engaged in another community. Mm-hmm. And how relevant and important for your work to be seen in a different landscape, in a different staging, in a different group of community. And the feedback, the reciprocity of that is for me so engaging, because for me, it's one thing to have a production for 4 nights in Vancouver, but how do I continue to live in the work and to deepen my understanding why I made this work? And so touring for me has been really integral for that reasoning. And it's interesting because, in June, I was in 4 different venues, and one festival in France, in Beauvais. It's a festival that is free completely to the community in dance, theater, in the visual arts, in music. And the community are welcome to come in this beautiful theater and to experience all of this art. And so for me, it's like, my goodness, this is the kind of things that I want.
Yeah.
And then I was in a venue in Le Tripostal in just outside of Paris. And it's their very first time to program a live performance.
Wow.
And so we were engaging, and they were also trying to cope in a way. How does a live performance enter a museum? So those are the kind of engaging that is really helping me and continuing to teach me how does a piece of work created for stage can also be readapted, recompose to all the different venues that we encounter, right? To have a one-day set up and then a show the next day. Those are the kind of rigor that you do and deal with in touring, And also, I think that a lot of the tourings that I build are very relational, the artist to artist network. The tourings that I've done have been, in the past have been engaged in mainstream festivals, but now it's really through the help and the assistance of deeper relationship with the artists that they've had in their relationship. I'm going to the Philippines right now because of my deep relationship with theater director Dennis Gupa, who is also very involved in creating work that resonates on the notion of climate action. And so we will be working with full-on orchestra, opera singers and theaters and 15 dancers on stage, and to test all of the works that we've been thinking and dealing with, along with scientists and also scholars about this notion of climate action and climate change. But again, these are relational, long time that I built throughout the period of time with the company. And that allows me to be involved more in going out to the outside world and being able to share the work of Co.ERASGA. And I want to be able to do it for as long as I can. But there's also a lot of hardship with, the resources and the economic resources to help and support touring at the moment. And so I face that too. And so I have to question what is it that I'm getting back from it? So I need to also question those. Yeah.
So there's the element of you being able to travel and represent Co.ERASGA dance as you.
Yeah.
And then there's a company of dancers accompanying you to these places for touring a production and something. So, and then you've got the strand of meeting artists in their locations and their environments and being able to go, which I think is a wonderful way of being able to both keep the ethos of the company traveling and gives you variance on how, but of course financially there's a big difference from you going alone and being responsible for say 5 dancers with you and a whole team of people that happens. So those kinds of things, and you seem to have managed that very well, adapted. Yeah.
And also again, different regions of the world have very different ways of economic resources for the arts,
and resources in general,
resources
right?
in general,
So that's wonderful. So how long will you be in the Philippines?
This is a two-week project.
Wow,
and
that's fast though, isn't it?
It's very fast. Yeah, it's very fast. And I arrive and really get on the theater and start working and just kind of encountering all of the discipline and to see what I have. And now I'm studying all of the orchestral pieces that's given to me and to see how I'm going to build this choreography in the next 2 weeks. So there's after coming out from a 1-week residency at the
with
Paris
3 choreographers
theater,
in all this depth and space and expansion, and now it's like almost it feels like almost the opposite, but maybe not.
But
not quite.
I think of that, and I also feel really fortunate to be needed. And to be able to give and to, because I'm a happy person when I'm in those places. Yeah. Because that's really what I'm meant to do, and so I love the encounter of the creativity in those nuances, and to be able to teach and to also be taught about why we're there and why we're making this. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that, to teach and be taught. Absolutely. 100%. I wonder if there's also just this space to go into the project in the Philippines now with the wisdom, with a sense of wisdom that the other process is giving you.
Big time.
Yeah. So it's almost like you just have to be present, right?
Isn't it?
You have to be present because
Yeah.
the practice is there. It's
Absolutely.
in your presence. It's
Yeah.
in your presence and in the other people that you are there, and
That's
present
beautiful.
with, which I think is, I love that. And I love that too. And I feel like that generosity of spirit is why I love participating in so many different things. But I also want to be in an environment where I feel the generosity in the room, almost to that point of like, not quite bliss. That sounds terrible, but there's an element of it being enough.
Yeah,
this is it, but not like, this is it. Not like that, but,
Right.
just like, how I honor this moment, that kind of thing. So grateful and honoring the moment to be able to feel it, to be there, but to also feel it. And, I think there's something really wonderful about that. Okay. It's so lovely. Do you think you can sustain the company?
Do I think I can sustain the company again
For another 25 years?
I would. I mean, why not? I would love.
Why not?
To be,
Yeah.
I would love to be able to sustain it. I don't know. I mean, I just know the reality that I don't know if I will always be in the company.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I am 55, right? So, and I also have to recognize and be honest about where I am with my body, and to continue to care for that. And so I think that, the company can be a space and a place for the generation that will come. And hopefully that can be a part of this region, and already there's a lot of that's going on in the company. I mean, I do also do a lot of mentoring already.
Oh, yes.
And very relational with other diverse organizations that are needing my input in terms of how do such programming happen, So I'm already doing a lot of that kind of very basic consultational work, And so I think, again, it's going back to listening and questioning what is the company, what is the vision of dance that we need to listen to for the community that we need to have moving forward. Yeah. So time will tell, time will tell. What do we need? Is it going to be a repertoire company? Like I would love that the works of the company that's being created can be part of a legacy work where dancers can learn also those work, those creation and why they are created.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's a lot of possibilities that could happen. So those are already kind of in conversation right now, especially in the 25th season.
Yeah.
There's been discussion with the board, and to face head on the reality of what will come in the next, I mean, not even 25, but the next 5 years.
5 years or so, yeah.
And what are we facing on with the reality of our economics and situation to support the arts, right? How can I cope with those,
And are you interested? Yeah.
And am I interested? Yeah. Am I interested? Or to what capacity can I be interested in that? Yeah.
That's what I was thinking, because there is this element of, you said about creating, and like you say, you might not be in the company, but at the heart of it was you to be able to create.
Yeah.
And you are a choreographer as well.
Yeah.
And so there's an element of that, and then artistic director role. But how administrative are you interested in being? I mean, gosh, though, for companies, there's so much there.
It never ends.
I know. So when you mentor people on a basic level, this connects a little bit to a question I posed to you earlier, which is, What would you tell your younger self? And so I wonder with this question, and when you're speaking, when you're mentoring, do you find yourself kind of prioritizing something that is there something you really need to tell them? Like you said, it's kind of basic, in a way, basic information, but that in that there is a kind of depth, right? There is a depth of insight. What would you, if you were in conversation with your younger self now, what do you think, what would you like your younger self to know or believe in going forward? Like, what do you think you could say that would be a bit of either a motivator or a warning to your younger self about life?
Well, I think it's really, for me, it starts again from the question of, why am I doing this? Nice. And do I love this practice? Do I love this practice? And to know that, to not be afraid, and to allow, and when I say to not be afraid, I think being an artist, it's that imagination that we must not let go. Allow yourself to keep imagining, because that's really something that AI will not be able to tarnish as human being, is our incredible sense for imagination. And to let that be a spring of many things, I think as an artist, you really have to have that. You really have to have that, and allow that, to not fear of that, carry to be dreaming, to be daydreaming, because there's so much of that we mustn't lose. It's in those places where magic really encounter and pierce to you, that you will never like, oh, something just came up to me. But you have to allow yourself to be in that space. The imagining, the dreaming, the loving of the practice that you're doing, and to not be afraid of that. Allow yourself, to me, that's the very basic human capacity that you still have, that you have to carry on, whether you're 16 or 85. That's still very possible, I want that to resonate, and I think in this notion of eternal gesture, those are the eternal gestures that we have, to be able to love, to be able to have a relationship with you, Claire, just in this conversation, and let that be, and allow the imagination of the conversation wherever that might go. Because sometimes I think we can be really rigid in the just in the rigor of life,
in our
general,
day,
period. I gotta get up.
Exactly.
I gotta get up and wash my hair,
go here and do
get
this,
ready,
and
go
by
do
a certain
right?
time.
But you just gotta lounge and give yourself that time to let me just sit here for a little while and imagine this. And I find myself being caught in those moments more and more, and to just, snap out of it, let it be. Just let it be. And
that's
see
beautiful.
What happens.
One of the things I found in a meditation practice was just to focus on one thing in a room. And at the time when that was introduced to me, I found it so difficult to do. And now it's much easier for me to do. And I'm appreciate something for what it is, but actually articulate what it is in lots of interesting ways. And that for me became a bit of a study for practicing presence in a day. It was just a really beautiful way of doing it, because all of the other things and all the scheduled things and all of those things disappeared for that length of time. So that's been a wonderful process in everything. That's been really helpful. So what are your hopes and dreams for, one, for the company, and two, for the community?
Well, I think for the company, it's really to stay as present as it can for the time that we're in. Again, not to dream too big, but to be present and to make sure that whatever season we have, we find our are ways to it that make sense, that is connected, that is relational, and that it really allows for the mandate that we have as a company, and to really continue to resonate this practice of dance, and the many ways that dance can be interpreted, whether it's on stage, whether it's in just one dancer in a studio, whether it's in a dialogue with migrant stories in the community about what is dance and how to dance. Those mini pockets and spaces of how we can deliver in the smallest ways are a way of journeying, are a way of moving, being present. And my hope for the community is really that sense of really redefining what is dance for us. The notion of care, the notion that dance is so much more beyond what we know from the past. And how do we deal with that? How do we encounter with that? How do we give ourselves the question of care for each of us and for the community, so that we can actually just breathe and have presence, I think that's
caring about our encounters with each other and our encounters with dance. I hear you say.
Yeah, I think that's really important, that we may not be two step forward, but actually step one backward.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's totally okay.
And it may very well be necessary.
It may be. So,
because then we can just kind of pivot just slightly.
And I think that's such an important. I mean, it's such an important time that we're in for so many ways, right? So, and I feel like the joy of dance, again, dancing from your heart.
Absolutely.
What is
absolutely
that? What is that right now? Dancing from your heart.
Really? No. Yeah, absolutely. No, it's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Well, I wish you all the best with your travels and your wonderful project in the Philippines, and with Dennis too. That's wonderful. And then when you are back, are you back into your process with Eternal Gestures? Is that... Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I come back in the studios. I take my time again to return to it and to prepare for the deepening of the work in the studio with the artists, and then coming back into the space. And it's been wonderful because now I know what I'm going to be treading to come towards the world premiere. And that's really a gift, I think, is to have those time, to envision, but also to physicalize and to let it live in my body. So, looking forward.
Absolutely. Can you remind us again of the dates of your
It's
world
October
premiere?
9, October 10, at the Dance Center, 8
Wonderful.
PM.
And there will be a talk back happening.
Yes, on the second 9 October
and of
10th.
course your website and your Instagram and all of those things, which we'll put links to on the bottom. You're very good.
And everything at the Dance Center.
Yeah, you're very good at updating those. And you may have something in the open house in September. Yeah,
I think that myself and Star will be doing a sharing of just our rehearsal process and having a conversation with the public and maybe some movement sharing together.
That's so good. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Alvin. This has been wonderful. It's always so lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much, Claire. Again, as usual, this is pretty wonderful.
So great.
Thank you
Lots
for
of
all
love.
your work.
Thank you. And care.
Okay, you too. Yes, care.
Okay. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. We would love for you to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, as this will help other listeners find us and help us to grow our dance audience. We'll be back next month. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook at The Dance Centre, Twitter at Dance Centre, and Instagram at The Dance Centre BC. And if you'd like to support our work, please consider making a donation. Just go to our website at thedancecentre.ca, where you'll find extensive information about our upcoming programs and events. The music for the Dance Centre podcast was composed by James B. Maxwell. Always a pleasure to connect with you through dance. Until next time.